everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Kickstarter Real Estate Investing. In this week's episode, I'm going to talk about the next topic, which is basically what comes eventually after you're done your search of a property, you're done your underwriting of the property, you looked at all your finance options, and if you like a property, you're ready to put an offer. So that's what we're going to talk about in this episode is what do you need to do from your perspective when you're putting an offer together. Okay, so when you're putting an offer together, remember that is in most of the residential real estate properties you might buy, an offer is going to be more of a legally bound agreement, right? This is not like a LOI, a letter of intent, which you normally see in commercial, which is non-binding. In most of the residential real estate which you go and buy, you make an offer, it's going to be a binding offer. That is, it is legally binding on you. Okay, so you have to be very careful about certain things when you're looking at the offer. And this is where your real estate agent really comes handy. They come with a lot of experience and they can help you guide you through the whole process of what should be in the offer, what is the legal language which is required by the state so that it's a legally bound offer. But there are three things which really fall more on you. So the three things which really fall on you are going to be more about what is the due diligence period you need. Okay, so you need to talk to your real estate agent, figure out what is the common due diligence period which is used. So you need to think about that, okay, and to figure that out. The second thing is going to be what is your contingency. Now, contingency is something which allows you to come out of a contract if certain things are not met, right? So once you go through an inspection process, what if you find something very bad during the inspection? Like how do you come out of that, right? So that goes in the contingency side. And that's another thing you need to keep a lookout for. And the third and final thing, which is the most obvious, is the offer. Like what is the price you're going to offer for that particular real estate property? Okay, so let's talk about all the three things in a little bit more details, right? So first is, like we said, the due diligence period. Now the due diligence period is something where, let's say it's a 15-day to a 30-day period. And within that period, you're going to go and start looking at all the finances which might be available. So you might be buying a real estate property which is already rented out by some other investor. So you're very interested to know what are the expenses, what are the income, and you want to see what kind of data they can give you as part of it, right? So the due diligence is basically going to be one, which is more on the financial side of things. The second part of due diligence which you need to take care of is going to be the inspection side of it. Okay, and in this side of it, what you're really looking for is what kind of inspection you need to perform. Now, you definitely need to do a full house inspection, so that doesn't go away. You're going to do that, but you might also want to back up things like termite inspection. What if something is found? Mold inspection. What if something is found during the initial inspection? You need some backup follow-up which you need to do in terms of those inspections. And finally, you might also want to do more of a structural inspection. What if it's a very old house and you might want to do one more inspection which is very specialized, which is more on the structural side of things. So while there are so many different kinds of due diligence items you need to look at, you obviously want to make sure that you account for enough time for you to do that process. Now, why is that time important? Because if you're not able to complete your due diligence in a particular period of time and go back to the seller with your list of defects or your list of concern, that period will pass and then basically what you put in your earnest money will become hard. What that means is you will not be able to get the money out and now you're legally bound by that particular contract, right? So you definitely want to make sure there is enough time which is devoted to due diligence process. And like I said, this is where a real estate agent comes in handy and they can really guide you through that process, okay? Now let's talk about contingencies. Now contingencies here basically follows the due diligence process, right? So now what you really want to do is when you put something on paper in a legal contract, you need an out. You need a way of backing out of the contract if certain things are not favorable for you. So what are some of the things you might find, right? The most obvious is you did an inspection, the inspector came back with a big report and you found certain things in there which you do not like, right? So you need to have a way of then coming across with a list of things you want the seller to fix. And there could be a chance the seller says, no, I'm not going to fix this. So you need a way to come out of that contract, and that could be one of the contingencies you can put in there. The second one is going to be more around the structural, right? So structural in itself is a contingency, right? Not so much about hey, this door is broken, fix it, or this window is broken, or the chimney is broken. Structurals is that something found in the foundational aspect of it. The foundation could be broken. Your walls might be caving in. So when those kind of things happen, you need a way of backing out of that contract, because you do not know whether that building is now going to be a physically stable unit or not, right? So foundation is another contingency you need to think about. And finally, there is a financial contingency. What if you're not able to get a loan, right? What if the market suddenly turns and all the lending institutes are not able to give you loan right now? So you also need a contingency where if you're not able to get a loan in a good amount of time, you will not able to close on that house, right? So that is the third type of contingency you need to be aware of, and you need to make sure that's mentioned in the offer you're making. And finally, it's going to be the offer, right? The offer is going to be the price which you're going to put, or an offer you're going to make on that property. And the first thing you have to remember about it is you are buying an investment property, so you should not get emotional about it. So when we are buying our own house, we get very emotional about things like, okay, this is where my family is going to live, this is where the school is there, this is the back end my kids are going to play, and so on, right? But when you are buying an investment property, you're not going to live in that. So you have to really look at the hard numbers, all the underwriting which you have done, and based on that, come up with an offer. And you do not have to worry if the offer looks like a lowball offer or doesn't meet the numbers which is there, because you are doing it based on the numbers you have run, not based on what the seller is expecting or what the market is about, right? And if the numbers don't work and your offer you make is not accepted, that's fine. You walk away from it, okay? So keep that thing in mind. So from an offer perspective, you really want to make sure you are putting something you are comfortable, because you have down payments, you have reserves to meet, you have a cash flow you need to meet, right? So you need to make sure that the offer you make is meeting all those different criteria you have set aside from an underwriting perspective. So folks, those are the three main things you really need to think about when you're writing an offer. So first is obviously the due diligence phase and having enough time so you can do a proper due diligence. Second is the contingencies, which you really need to have in place so that if something goes wrong, you have a way to come out of that particular contract. And third is an offer, which is the non-emotional offer you're making based on the hard numbers you have run and based on what you feel is the possibility of running this particular real estate property. Okay. Hope this episode was helpful to you. Please go ahead, like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week. Thank you. Bye.